I'm lost in the thoughts of that fateful eve, where for her infant Fatima would grieve. The forgotten child, the forgotten child, the forgotten child, the forgotten child. I'm lost in the thoughts of that fateful eve, where for her infant Fatima would grieve. Where outside the door flames were set alight, and inside Hussein was losing a night, and inside Hussein was losing a night. The forgotten child, the forgotten child, the forgotten child. Surely he would have given his support, and in Nainawa he would have then fought. Surely he would have given his support, and in Nainawa he would have then fought. But in Medina his empty crypt sways, whilst his parents' home now was set ablaze, whilst his parents' home now was set ablaze. The forgotten child, the first sword he faced did come as a nail. The first drums of war were his mother's wail. The first drums of war were his mother's wail. And his first armor was Fatima's veil. He did conquer, for their truth he unveiled. He did conquer, for their truth he unveiled. The forgotten child, the forgotten child, the his first infant clothes as a shroud prepared. Before birth he was a shaheed declared. Before birth he was a shaheed declared. The poets who say that Fatima AlHakeem, they waged war on him. The young child Muhsin, he who painfully was slain without sin. He who painfully was slain without sin. The forgotten child, the forgotten child, the forgotten child, the forgotten. And so I do think, what if he had lived? What teachings we'd learn from amongst his saints? How many lessons would we have then gained from Muhsin's children, had he not been slain? From Muhsin's children, had he not been slain? The forgotten child, the forgotten child, the forgotten. What truth would he have taught to the masses? How many wisdoms would he have passed on? For look how many gather to all mourn them he's inspired. Even though unborn them he's inspired. Even though unborn, the forgotten child, the forgotten child, the forgotten child, the forgotten. He's touched the lives of millions with no speech. Imagine he'd lived, how many he'd teach. Imagine he'd live, how many he'd teach. But we do promise to always revive the legacy of the forgotten child. The legacy of the forgotten child, the forgotten child.